Hey friends, in this video I'm going to share my 2023 goals slash resolutions slash things I'm trying to move forward on. For the past 2 years, Austin and I have done a year in review which looks back on the previous year and all that's happened and all that we've accomplished, and then also looks forward at the next year or the coming year at all of the things that we would like to move forward with and make our goals. In past years, I've called them resolutions, but resolutions to me kind of implies that you can only start it at the beginning of the year, when if I want to start something, I want to start it as soon as possible, and sometimes that's midweek. This year, I learned that goals could be viewed negatively because they do imply that there's a pressure to achieve them. And if you don't achieve them, potentially you could feel really bad about that. For me, goals can have a more defined endpoint, but don't necessarily have to. They could be somewhat of a moving target. I am going to try to do my nails during this because that is one of my goals for 2023, is more self-care. I'm very much an amateur at painting my nails. Most of my knowledge comes from YouTube, which is a great resource. For this particular goal, being good doesn't necessarily mean being good. I mean more. I want more painting my nails, more baths, more walks with my dogs, more massages, and time to do nothing. I don't think that it's realistic for me to expect that I will do this every single day, that I'll paint my nails every day, or that I'll get a chance to do any or all of these things every day. So what I'm looking for is 2 times a week. That's it. And maybe that's not a lot. Maybe you should be working on this every day. I don't know. But what I do know is that 2 times a week is probably way more than what I've previously been doing. It's measurable and it's a place to start. Last year I had 3 main goals: to visit the Grand Canyon National Park, to reach Spanish DELE level B2, and to take a cooking class to improve my cooking. I almost have parallels to all of those goals this year. I'm not too picky about which national park we visit this year. I think it would be amazing to visit Glacier because my mom's from Montana and it would be great to visit. But at the same time, I'm keeping my options open and I'll be happy to visit any of them. Another parallel to last year's goals is the Spanish DELE level B2. I did not make it. I took a test and still got the B1 classification. I don't consider that a failure. I think my main area of focus this year will be more talking because I have lots of listening practice. I subscribe to so many YouTubers, a few podcasts that I'm really interested in, and I'll link those below if you're interested. They do not speak slowly, which I find very nice because I hear the natural accents and the natural rhythm of the language, but also can understand maybe 80% of what's being said. And it turns out 80% is quite enough to get the general gist of what's going on. When it comes to vocabulary, I have finished the 211 units of Duolingo. I'll be making a video on that coming up, but also in the meantime, since I have finished with that, my second book in Spanish by K.A. Applegate, and if you are around the same age I am, then you'll be familiar with the series, The Animorphs. The Animorphs series came out when I was in middle school, so the vocabulary isn't going to be very difficult and it's a pretty fast, easy read. But in Spanish, it turns out it's a little bit more difficult. The tense is a lot easier than the first Spanish book I chose to read, which was The Alchemist. I read The Alchemist last year, or I finished last year. It took quite a bit longer. But the way that I read The Alchemist was I was stopping at everything that I didn't understand. So every tense that I didn't understand and every word that I didn't understand, every phrase that I didn't understand, I was looking that up so I could understand the entire sentence. That took forever. But for this book, I am just trying to absorb what is being said through context. So very similar to how I'm listening to a lot of the podcasts and videos, using my context clues. And even if I don't understand 80%, I'll probably get the gist in the next sentence or two. Another thing that I'm doing differently about this book is I'm reading it out loud, which should help with a little bit of the pronunciation and getting the feel of the language in my mouth. Is that weird? No. So for this goal, I would like to reach B2 at the end of the year. If I don't, I will cry. Just kidding. I will try again next year. Achieving this DELE B2 is very arbitrary, especially when I, at this point, can converse acceptably and feel relatively comfortable. The final parallel from last year's goals is cooking. So I wanted to take a cooking course and improve my cooking, but did not track that at all, did not take a cooking course, had no way to measure how much I was improving my cooking, even though I showed up a couple times in the kitchen. This year, I would like to cook a new meal every week, and a new meal just means something different. I've got a recipe book that I love, and it's called the Chicken Bible. I'll link that below, but I first found it at the library, tried a couple recipes, and was like, oh my god, I need this book in my life forever. So I bought it. Well, now that I put the base coat on top of the color, I guess I gotta put the top coat on. Again, I'm not trying to be perfect at this goal. I don't think that would be realistic, so 80% of the 52 weeks is just fine with me. But my last goal, I saved the best for last, or the one that I am super excited about because it's coming up pretty quickly, is a trip. Last year, my mom told my sister and I that she would like to visit Spain and Portugal, and this was perfect because, like, learning Spanish, Spain, what better place to speak in Spanish? I mean, I know that there's a ton of places. Portugal is also amazing because when I was in high school, my family hosted a few exchange students, one of which is from Portugal. His name is JC, and we're gonna go visit him. Lots of things possibly could happen. I generally don't like to travel with people because I'm very independent in what I like to do when I like to do it. But I'm excited for my mom to be able to travel. She is the one who is, I feel like, made me a more worldly person. As an adult, I see wealthy families taking their 3-year-olds and their children to Europe or international trips, and I don't think that that was an option when I was a kid. So she brought the world to us. Oh my god. And for that, I'll be eternally grateful. These are happy tears. And that was a lot more than I thought it would be. I thought we were just gonna talk about goals. Whew. So those were the goals. I also wanted to mention the way that I'm going to be tracking all of these is using a free app called Habits. It's simple and straightforward. It's a check mark if you did something, or if it's something more measurable, there is a quantity option, like I did 10 push-ups today, then you can put in the number 10. I like it right now. It's only been about a week, and I probably will be reviewing it much later on this year after having used it for a while. But what I like about it right now is that it requires the least amount of effort for me to still be able to measure what I'm working towards. So thanks for hanging out. I hope your 2023 is off to a fabulous start and that you're kicking butt on all those things that you're working towards, if you're working towards anything, and I'll see you next time. Bye! How many coats go on? Doesn't say. There are no instructions. Oh shoot, I'm using the base coat. Is that bad? I gotta continue. And if you want to see my nails, oh,